I have always been fascinated by the human mind, and I actually started to study psychology, and I dropped out a couple of weeks before the corona pandemic began. Even up to now, I still read a lot of self-development books and personal development books. I'm very much into self-improvement. The problem about being into self-improvement that I think is that most people start their journey by reading a lot of self-improvement books, but they never actually move to graduate to actually applying those things in their lives. On this channel, I want to talk about those things, looking at my own life as a lens to explore ideas of personal development that you could use to benefit your existence. This definition is going to change a little bit, but one thing that you should keep in mind is this. It's going to be personal, it's going to talk about human behavior, and it will have aspects of stoicism, which is, being chill, essentially. That's not true. Stoicism has a lot more to do than that. It's a lot more about, trying to be in the moment and realizing that a lot of what we see, a lot of what we panic about will eventually vanish. Like, we are dust and we return to dust. Most things don't matter. For me, that's a summary of stoicism. Most things don't matter. And what really matters is the truth. In this video, I'll talk about meaning extraction. It's a term that I use in an article that I just wrote. There's a link in the description if you want to read the article on Medium. It's actually a friend link, so you don't have to pay anything to read it. And it was really me going through the process of thinking about when you're forced to take a break, because the accident forced me to take a break. I had to, pause and just be not even in the moment. It was more like I didn't want to do anything. I took a break from everything. I stopped my writing class, I stopped writing, I stopped making videos. As you can notice on the channel, there's this huge chunk of 2 weeks where there was nothing. And during that pause, I just started thinking because when I don't have much to do, I consider things. So I read and I reflect, which I think is a huge part. So there's a trifecta. This video is going all over the place. Bear with me. Next time I will think about it. I really had to make this video. There's a trifecta, I feel, of the information influx in our bodies. There is, the input, what we connect to, we read, we listen to podcasts, we hear people talk, we have conversations. And the other one that we mostly know is the output. We write articles, we make our own videos, we make videos on YouTube, we share podcasts and all those things. There's a middle part that I think a lot of people actually don't pay attention to, including, in fact, especially me, which is the reflection part, which is between the input and the output. There's that space where you let things percolate and churn. And this idea, or this topic, this whole thought came up to me when Nathaniel Drew talked about, his own process of creation and journaling and writing ideas. And he was basically saying that you have all these ideas and if you don't take time to reflect on them or keep them somewhere, you don't get to use them. Inspiration happens in bursts. You capture them and then you can reflect on them later on. So I know he's not the only one who said that, but it got me thinking about all these three parts. And I was, during this break of my accident, thinking about, I was deep in reflection, thinking about meaning. Like, what is meaning? What is meaning? And in that video, I talked about Viktor Frankl's definition of meaning, which I'm not going to bring up now because I really don't want to put up any graphics or anything. Meaning is whatever we attribute to things. And maybe this might sound like a very huge nerd word person thinking about a word and trying to rationalize it, but when you say something has meaning to you or somebody means a lot to you, what do you mean? What does that mean when we say this particular project has a lot of meaning? For example, in most cases, it's a project that will actually make or break your career. It could be the degree that will allow you to finally get the job that you want. It could be the person that you could die for. It could be your spouse, your child. So when something has meaning, clearly there is a huge aspect of, I would say, our ego invested in it. And if you go to Stoicism, the way I see Stoicism, it probably means that there should not be much meaning to things and to existence and to events and to even emotion, where you'd say, okay, I'm angry, what does that mean? But then maybe that's just my way of looking at it that's just skewed. Like, does it mean that if you want to be a rational, stoic, calm, chill person who enjoys existence as a whole, you would not have meaning to things? And it sounds a little bit contradictory because the way I look at it, the way I saw it through my reflection, I was trying to extract the meaning of my accident. You cannot just tell me that I had an accident and it doesn't mean anything because you're stoic. I think that's when people don't understand stoicism. Like, they think stoicism is about rejecting life, it's about rejecting existence. My puny understanding of stoicism is so much more about looking at things as that they were meant to be and that they happened for you. So the meaning of everything is both incredibly huge and at the same time incredibly small. The meaning that you have about a life is precious, a life is great, but then you realize that in the grand scheme of things, a life is nothing. In the whole spin of the universe, in 200 years, none of us will be existing. It's that understanding of those two extremes of, yes, this is the worst thing that could have happened to me right now. This is a bad day. This is terrible. This is evil. Being able to appreciate that and also appreciate that in the grand scheme of things, I might not even be remembered for this. But now when I look at that and try to extract meaning in terms of the accident and looking at, life, like bad things do happen. Things happen, like really terrible things, and telling somebody like, oh, by the way, you should be chill because life is chill and in the universe, in the end, you will be dead. And the question that also pops up is like, why would you try to pursue freedom or wealth or, achieve your potential? Essentially, if you're saying you want to achieve your potential, that's you saying there's meaning in the pursuit of whatever it is that you're pursuing. So it almost contradicts this, because one of the big Stoics not the big Stoic, one of the people that I actually read whose book, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, God, he was a king. Like, this guy was ruling people. He was the most powerful man in his time. So it's not as if he was refusing, I guess, to say the privilege of that. At some point, he basically did not have a bed and he had to find a bed because of health. But he was the kind of person who would reject almost every, belonging. And the other person, I believe, is Seneca, was a slave. I hope I'm getting my philosophers right here. If not, please correct me in the comment section. I think when I'm going through this whole process of extracting meaning and trying to look at life from a perspective of, if there is something important here, what is it and how can I use it? What I'm trying to remind myself, and that I'm thinking that we can remind ourselves, is that everything is equally important and equally unimportant. And also, you get to decide what is important to you. So essentially, it goes back to Viktor Frankl, goes back to even to Stoicism. You assign meaning to things based on what you see, what you feel. Somebody could come and say, listen, you're a liar or you're a thief, and so another person will be like, well, okay, that's what you think, cool. Some other person whose reputation and whose word and whose image of self is very closely tied to what people think will tell you, how dare you say that? How dare you say I'm a thief or a liar? Like, take it back. You've had this conversation where you see something as a joke and somebody will say, no, take that back. I don't want you to ever say that again. So I guess meaning is different. Bottom line, meaning is different. Meaning is important. And I think one thing we need to consider is also to be able to respect other people's meaning. Respecting it doesn't mean we have to embrace it and accept it as ours. Sometimes also knowing how to, get those boundaries. Like, I understand that this is important to you. I understand that this is a big deal to you. I'm not going to try to make it small. I feel it's something about meaning that I need to learn, to understand that maybe for me, it's easy to lose money, knowing that I can always make the money or that I don't really care about money. But for somebody else, that money might be a big deal. And for some cases, yeah, it's actually, like you need help to, you have attachment issues. But for some people, being able to actually provide for their families, it means a lot to them. To be able to get a job, make money and provide for their family is a huge deal. So downplaying the importance of money is almost tantamount to insulting their existence. And I think we need to be more careful about how we look at our own things and maybe take a break sometimes and a pause to look at things. So I guess the bottom line of this video is I got at an accident, I got the time to think about meaning, and I got to realize that what is important to me might not be important to somebody else. What is painful to me might not be painful to something else. Something that I think we all know at a certain level. We all understand it, bottom line. But I wonder if we ever take the time to apply it in real life, where we actually take the time to say, well, I understand where you're coming from and I am very sorry. And not try to say, but by the way, just so you know. I think the second parts of apologies are usually unnecessary, where you say, but, the but parts where it's like, I'm sorry I did this to you. And you say, but you're the one who caused it, or but you're too sensitive, or but this. So I think the second part of apologies should usually be dropped if you understand the meaning of things to other people. So, yeah, I've said so like 13 times, and I really wanted to get this off my chest. And I know I'm thinking while talking, but I wanted to get this out. So if you enjoyed this video, which you probably think you should if you are a nerdy philosophy, stoicism, thought process person like me, like the video. And if you would want to see more thoughtful, I promise you it's going to be more thoughtful videos where I go through the process of, establishing cause, effect, or bring out evidence and have people to back up my arguments, not just my opinion, but actual people who've done studies, smarter people. Then subscribe to the channel if that's something that interests you. My name is Kamga Tchassa. I am a writer and I think a lot. So stay tuned for more videos on the channel. If you haven't watched videos on the channel, I'm going to link a video on the screen somewhere here that you can watch, and also in the thing bar this way where you can actually check out the other videos that I recommended while watching this. And I'll see you in the next video.